There's a number of things that maybe we used to do that we shouldn't even bother with anymore, and I'm going to talk to you about that on the other side. So without any further ado, let's go. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is John from Flippin' Ain't Easy, and today I just wanted to make a video about things that probably aren't even good to bother with anymore if you're a seller. And there's about 4 things that I think that many of us do, including myself, that really are just a waste of time, and your energy is probably best served doing other things like listing or maybe checking your items to make sure they're accurate, and trying to figure out why items you've listed months ago aren't selling. But to me, I've had a number of revelations over the last, say, few weeks that have led me to make this video, because I really think that doing a lot of this stuff that we do as resellers is a waste of time. And I think a lot of it is because eBay has made changes. There's changes that have been made within the way eBay handles a lot of these issues. And of course, they don't tell us. We have to find out these things on our own. If they were, in the business of telling us or communicating with us, I probably wouldn't need to make this video. So there are really 4 things. So the first thing I want to tell you about is a video that I made yesterday. It was about that situation that I was trying to figure out why in the world did I have an item or a few items that someone has agreed to buy over a week ago, and yet eBay is showing me that they agreed to buy it yesterday, and I can't cancel this due to non-payment. I have to wait another 3 or 4 days. And what eBay doesn't tell me, or didn't tell me and didn't tell you, I'm sure you figured it out on your own, is that once you send an invoice, and that's even a payment reminder on the app, if you do either one of those things, then what happens is that resets the clock. That's basically saying like you're giving the buyer more time. And I know the reason why I do it, and I'm sure it's the same reasons why you do it. You want to kind of send that buyer a message or a reminder, right? That, hey, you have an item that's not paid for. And, because buyers aren't always looking at eBay like we are, it makes sense, right? To get their attention. Hey, you have an item that's unpaid. Can you please resolve this because I want to ship your item out? Of course, I called yesterday on Tuesday, and I guess the offices that I was calling at eBay were closed because it was redirecting me to the ebay.com, where I ended up going through the chat system and requested a call back that way. And of course, you get the wonderful folks in the Philippines, and I ended up getting someone that requested that I try time travel, and I'm not joking about that. Of course, that was the end of that that conversation. Fast forward to today, contact a rep in the United States who pretty much told me that yes, they confirmed that if you hit send invoice, or if you send a payment reminder on the app, it resets the clock, and there really is no need to do so, because eBay sends 2 to 3 reminders from the time they agree. They get an invoice, then they get another 1 or 2 follow-ups before you're allowed after the 4th day to go in and cancel. So unless you just don't care and you don't mind having your items sitting in limbo, or what I call the layaway program, for days on end, don't hit that send invoice button at all, guys. It's or the send payment reminder button. It doesn't make sense to do it. There is really not a purpose for it, because again, eBay does it on your behalf, and it's just a waste of time, and it's not going to do anything for you. Now, during my conversation with this rep, the topic did get brought up about returns. And I know that another YouTuber by the name of Philly Flipper put out a video that said something to the effect of his account was suspended 90 days from utilizing the refund tool. Who knows what other implications come along with that? I'm a firm believer that anything negative that eBay deems that you're doing is a ding on your account health, and your account health is considered at the time your item is being ranked for a best match search. And it made me a bit concerned, because a couple months ago I got a little nastygram from eBay saying that I've utilized the eBay refund tool too much. So I brought that up on the conversation today with the rep, and she did say that, yeah, we got a lot of people a couple months ago who were having their ability to refund taken away for 90 days, at least do a partial refund or any kind of adjustment on the refund were being taken away. And a lot of people had called in and it wasn't a mistake. And if you received a message from us saying that you need to slow down, slow your roll, it probably wasn't a mistake. Now, I had called when I got the message, spoke to a rep in the United States like a couple days after I got that message. They told me that, hey, it was all sent out by mistake. Who do I believe? I don't know, but I'm not willing to find out. So, I had asked them, I said, look, if I get a return, you guys know that I charge shipping in addition to the price of the item. So if I get a remorse return, simple remorse return, bought the wrong item, and I go into the refund tool, and remember, it's defaulted as being off, meaning that eBay has defaulted the refund to where it's just refunding the price of the item, the shipping they originally paid. You have to click on that toggle just to refund the buyer's shipping, the original shipping. Well, according to the rep, it's treated the same way. Whether you keep that money, don't give the refund of the original shipping, it's treated the same way as if you go into the actual refund and adjust it up to 50%. Meaning that you're utilizing the refund tool to give a partial refund, even if eBay defaults that original shipping refund as being turned off. And if you do it too much, then eBay will take that, well, of course, they'll give you a nastygram, but then they'll take that ability from you away for 90 days. And along with it, maybe it'll hurt your account health. So I've got to be more careful because, I received a remorse return. You guys know about that return where the guy claimed that I went in and changed the listing after the fact because it's obvious he bought the wrong thing. But of course, buyers don't blame buyers, they blame the seller. So I did a return. I gave him his money back on the item, but I didn't refund the original shipping. And apparently, if you do that and you do it too often, eBay is going to come down on you. And that's just a warning to you guys. It happened to another channel, like I said, Philly Flipper. I don't know how often he utilized that, but I'm willing to bet that it wasn't because he was adjusting the actual refund itself, like a partial refund, but he probably was caught not returning the original shipping, which should be at our discretion. Again, we shouldn't be required to return the original shipping if it's a remorse return, especially when eBay has it toggled off. So in my opinion, you just need to refrain from utilizing these options as much as you have before. If you do it a lot, you might want to consider, especially if you receive the same email that I did a couple months ago, you might want to be very careful. And, of course, it helps when you don't have a lot of returns. But, when you do get them, I would say be more inclined to just refund the whole thing. I hate to say that, but your account health is worth more than $10 or whatever the cost of the original label was. Of course, you can report the buyer. They'll tell you you can report the buyer and get, now it's a $7 credit on that refund. But I can tell you, I've only seen $6 once, and that was 2 years ago, no matter how many times I've reported the buyer. So, they confirm that's a thing, but honestly, I don't think everyone at eBay is following the same process behind the scenes. So that's just me passing this along to you. I'm going to be more selective. That doesn't mean to stop adjusting refunds. Of course, if it's warranted, do what you got to do, but you might want to consider a full refund if the buyer sent back the item and the reason is understandable why they sent it back. It's just the cost. I hate to say it, guys. You guys hate me for saying this, but it's a reality. It's the cost of doing business. And at the end of the day, these expenses all add up and can be applied against what you earn when you're doing your taxes. And I'm not a tax professional or a CPA, but that's the reality of it. So lastly, the last set of things I think you should stop doing as a seller on this platform, because what used to work doesn't quite work anymore, at least in eBay's eyes, and that is how you deal with scammers. Okay, so there's another channel, was checking out their live stream today, and they got into this thing about how they use the black light. And I told you guys about that before, how you can take you get these markers on Amazon for like 10 bucks for like a 6-pack. You just write whatever mark you want on the item. It won't be visible to the naked eye, but when you put it under a black light, and these pens have a black light at the other end, you can see that this is your item that you receive back, and it's your mark. Other people put stickers and things of that nature on their item. The problem is eBay doesn't care. Okay, eBay will almost always side with the buyer. Okay, because the reason is they don't know if you put that mark on it after you receive the return. They don't know if you put the sticker on it before you took that photo to show eBay. That's their mindset. I know that most sellers are honest people, but they treat us with much suspicion as if we're up to something. Okay, so when a buyer reports a seller as saying, hey, I got the wrong item, they sent me a broken item, whatever it is, and they swap it out with their broken item, they send you back their broken hunk of junk, it doesn't have the mark that you put on it, well, eBay's not going to care. Okay, it's your word against theirs, and even if you supply all the proof in the world, maybe even video proof that you packaged it with that mark, and you open the return, it didn't have the mark, well, eBay still doesn't care. Okay, the onus is on the seller, and that's the way it has been, and it's even more so now. So doing that, and even contacting ic3.gov, it used to be a thing where you contact ic3.gov online, you fill out a report, you put the buyer's information, you submit any photos, state what the problem is, and call eBay and they'd make you whole. Well, guess what? That happened to me a couple months ago, and the US rep, who had quite a bit of knowledge from our discussion, I could tell she knew what she was talking about, and that ic3.gov thing is no longer a thing. At least that's what she told me, and of course I wasn't able to be made whole because they didn't recognize the ic3.gov process where I did the internet fraud report against the buyer. I don't even know if anyone at ic3.gov follows up with that, to be honest with you. As far as when you're dealing with a scammer, really at that point you would use the refund tool, deduct the 50%, report the buyer, write it off as the cost of doing business, and call it a day. Don't spend time on ic3.gov. Don't spend time marking up your items. That's not the best way to do it anyway. A buyer probably wouldn't appreciate if you're writing all over their item with the black light marker or putting extra stickers on the item. And it just serves no purpose anymore, guys. What used to work doesn't really work anymore, and you're spending time doing these things to prevent what could happen. How many times, look back, how many times out of the items you've sold within the last year, how many scammers have you actually really come across? And I'm not talking about people who say it's blue and you sold it as green, and it's green and you got it back and it's green. That's not a scammer. That's just, there's different levels, I guess, but I'm talking about the ones that swap out your item for a brick, okay, or swap out an item for their old busted up unit. It's not the one that you sent them. It's not that big of a percentage. And, as much as I hate to say this, I'm just simply trying to save you time and frustration, because eBay doesn't have your back. They don't have my back. And they're making it more and more difficult every day to succeed as a seller on this platform. But we have to embrace and understand what we can do and what we can't do as sellers. And unfortunately, the tools that they've given us over the last few years are being harder and harder to use and more restrictive. And for that reason, we just have to use a little bit more of our best judgment, and maybe utilize these things like the refund tool or even the ic3.gov to when we're dealing with really serious things. Guys, I got to tell you, even if you have the serial number of an item and you get swapped out on, eBay's not going to do anything for you. Okay, They're not. They're going to tell you to go back and adjust it in the refund tool and call it a day. And then they tell you you're using it too much. So I don't know, guys. That's just me reporting my findings over the last couple months and through discussions with eBay reps, US reps, not time travel eBay reps. But, for me, it's frustrating. For you, it's frustrating. But, we have to treat it like an eBay glitch. We have to navigate through this. And then there's going to be people who comment down below asking me, well, why do you continue selling on the site? Because eBay doesn't care for you as a seller. And it's because we continue to make sales. This is where the money's made. You're going to figure out how to navigate through the system. I promise you, if you were to take all your merchandise and try to put it up on Amazon, if you can get past the problem of getting gated on a lot of your merchandise, meaning that allowed to sell certain brands, well, if you think eBay is restrictive, try Amazon's policies. Trust me, they have they give sellers a lot shorter leash than they give sellers on eBay. So I'm just going to persevere, guys. Cross post, there's a link down below to the program I use, Prime Lister. They give you like 2 weeks free, no credit card, and I think they give you up to like 100 listings to try to move from your eBay account over to Mercari, Poshmark, Etsy, a number of different sites, so that you can try to put your items in front of other people. But I'm still here on eBay, okay? And many of you are still here on eBay. Some may decide that they're going to leave, but that's an individual decision you have to make. But the purpose of this video is just to give you some perspective that eBay does not have the seller's back. That's just it, guys. So we have to manage our returns. We have to manage how we utilize eBay's changes that they don't communicate with us. Like in their policy, going back to the invoice thing, there's nothing there that says the buyer's going to get more time when you send an invoice. So stop doing it. There's no need to do it. We have to learn how to navigate these things so that we're not wasting our time and getting frustrated in the process. If we expect that eBay is just going to treat us this way, well, guess what? We're not going to get as frustrated. And that's part of it. Part of this message is to limit the amount of things that frustrate you, because that hurts your motivation, and for some it causes people to just simply want to quit. And I want to see you guys succeed. So I want you to comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on this. I'm just telling you from my perspective, guys. Maybe you've had a better experience dealing with IC3.gov, dealing with scammers, dealing with the refund tool. Maybe you haven't received a nastygram saying that if you continue to utilize the refund tool the way you have, it's going to be taken away from you, like it happened to Philly Flipper. Don't let that happen to you. And this message is hopefully just to put the message out there, start the conversation. And it's no way at all a complaint or a gripe. I've accepted it, guys. I just want you to understand that things that we were able to do as sellers a year or two ago, it ain't the same. It isn't being treated the same way. You might be successful once or twice, but it's not. Now, as far as scammers, it's more about a psychological thing, I think, more than anything else. So for me, the way to combat a scammer is more of maybe not so much putting the information in your listing. You could put something, we have a way of identifying the items that we sell. We do inspect these things if you do decide to return the item, maybe at the bottom of your item description. But for me, it's more of communicating that once they open the return or send you a message fishing for a partial refund, that type of thing, to let the prospective scammer or your customer know that you have these things in place, so that they would think twice that maybe they got the wrong seller and they don't try to pull off the scam. But once they try to pull off the scam, it's your word against theirs, and eBay doesn't care what proof you have. So it is what it is. So hit that like button, guys, if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content we put out, and of course hit that notification bell so when we go live, like we do on Mondays and Fridays, or when we make another video like this, you're notified. And speaking of going live, Friday we are going to have our normal live. It turns out that my buddy who has these pallets has arranged to use one of those large vans that can hold, I guess he said 5 or 6 pallets. We only have 4, so that shouldn't be a problem. And he's going to drive it down here, and that's pretty awesome. So I don't have to make a trip to California at all. So good news. We're going to have the live stream Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. eBay's making changes. They've always been making changes. eBay is changing constantly, and sometimes they're not even letting us know. But it's through trial and error we find out what works and what doesn't. And when you have to do it like that, it's just yet another example of how sometimes flipping ain't easy. And I want you guys to have an excellent rest of your day, and we will talk to you very soon.